Where is it? Where share? No, share and white is not the right one.
I did.
Is there?
No,
Orice. Ar trebui să mă plătești, George, că...
Hello, good morning. Hello, you are muted, so just take care of that. Constantin, sorry, I think you're mute.
So,
now.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar, How Can ICT Enable Circular Economy Business Models? My name is Constantin Hermann. I'm Director Sustainability Consulting for Manufacturing and Electronics at Sphera, and I will be your moderator today. Please let me announce some housekeeping rules first. You are muted, as I was a minute ago, and we will record the webinar over the next 1.5 hours. So we will have presentation first, a bit more than an hour, and we'll follow up with a question and answer round of about 20 minutes. So whenever you have a question, please type it into the chat and we will order and sort it, combine it. Sometimes questions are similar, and we will address them in the Q&A round. Having said that, you also can raise hand if in the Q&A round there is something to more elaborate on the Q&A, but we will discuss this later on. So not to waste time, I'm pretty excited on this project, doing consulting in sustainability. Certainly circular economy is a topic, and whoever deals with circular economy knows the business model is a key element. And before I explain more on the project, I like to hand over to Vincente from AIMPLAS, who is coordinator of the project and will provide you an introduction in much more details and much better words than I ever could do. Vincente, please take over.
So thank you very much, Constantin. So hopefully you can see the screen and now at full screen mode. If I'm not doing things bad, so it is working. So this is, as Constantin said, I'm Vincente Vert. I'm the technical coordinator of the C-Service project, and now I just make a short overview of what the project is. So the idea is first to answer the first question is which is the problem? So then which are the needs that we need actually for solve this problem? So it is just the question of the first question I will want to present is that. And the second question is regarding to the project itself. So it's who is doing what and how we are doing so for just getting that solutions to the problem. So coming to the first thing is just with the problem. The problem is that, as you probably and surely you know, it is the waste electronic and electric equipment is just a growing waste stream. And by 2021, it was something like 50 or 60 million tons approaching, and it's something like estimated for 74 million tons by 2030. And it is really complex mixture of valuable materials there. So we need to tackle, and this is coming the need. And the need is just, we need to, I mean, the aim is to recover or to keep this, both the resources and the economic point of view. This it is estimated around 55 billion euros by 2016. And the idea is to prevent that this electronic and electric equipment to become waste, and also how we can just boost the collection and recovery for then we can get these materials back to the system and the circular economy. So these are the problem, the need, and the solution that we propose within the C-Service is to increase or to develop new circular business models for 4 targeted products in that way that are washing machines, printers, and telecommunication equipment and TV sets. And these solutions will be driven by the industry different services like eco-design, but also eco-leasing, on recycling, on design for recycling you're using and extending the lifespan. But also it provides key enablers for getting that based on regulation, but also on ICT tools and standards and eco-labeling. And that's why we're just today dealing with the ICT tools as a key enablers for getting this solution. And now it's just coming who is going to do so, and this is something like a plenty well-balanced consortium with up to 16, 17 partners with different countries, just tackling the whole value chain for this business model, from the design up to the recycling point of view, coming from distribution and reuse. So there are different partners here, and later on they will be presented. And the objective is just to develop these circular business models, but to use also the ICT tools, but also to implement these circular business models and to validate them out with these target products. And of course, it's providing the key enable tools, as I said before, and to maximize the innovation impacts. I mean, to make it broader and broader. And today we are just tackling with this, it is the ICT tools. And coming for the ICT tools, then how we can just say that we are just first developing this digital twin system, in there we can just put physical issues into a, let's say, digital materials or bill of materials. So then we can just access with the smart questioning and to integrate them out within the 3 different platforms: the information exchange platform, the logistics platform, and the ICT as a whole platform. It is a question that is going to be discussed in the next 1 hour and a half mainly, because hopefully I'm not really spending more time on that. So that's mainly the really smart, fast review of the project overview. And this is what I want to say for the beginning, because the most interesting thing is coming right now. And this is my contact, just in case, both myself and Itziar, as we are in place as the coordinators of the project. So thank you very much for this very small and short introduction. And now the interesting is coming now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Vincente. That was pretty fast, in 5 minutes, such a large project overview. And please, may I remind everyone, if you have questions, type it in the chat and we will sort it out. The next presenter is Mohammed Osmani, and he will talk from Loughborough University, and he will talk about the business model. Please, Mohammed, take over.
Thank you very much, Constantin. Good morning, everybody. I don't know if you can see my screen. Constantin, can you see it? Hello?
Perfect, yes.
Good,
but
yes.
It's not in presenting. It's not in presenting.
I just wanted to make sure that it's there. So I'll yeah, okay. Good morning.
Wonderful.
Good morning, everybody. The first presentation, just to give you an overview about the development of the circular economy business models, which was one of the first work packages of this project. And then I'm just going to give you more of a very quick overview of the process. So because we have just 10 minutes, I don't have a lot of time to go into the details. But just to start with, our task was to develop two business models. One, the task number 1 was to develop it for a reference model. We're calling it a reference circular business model for the EE sector. And then we applied this and we customize it to the 4 target products in C-Survey, which are for washing machines, printers, ALM products, and TV set and displays. So we gave them some specific names: circ mode. So it's about wash circ mode, print circ mode, ALM, and TV circ mode. So how did we start? We started through a lot of activities. We come up with a conceptual organigram for the circular economy business models, looking at different layers. There were 5 layers. We're starting with looking at the circularity principles, and then how we can, from business strategy to business model components to circularity indicators to opportunities, enablers, and barriers. So we're starting with layer 1. So that's we are talking now about the circular economy business model, generic, high level for the sector. So we start by looking at the current business models, by looking at current objectives, how we can extend them into circular economy objectives, and then how can we move from the current business model into a circular economy business models. From there, we move to a layer 2. So it'll be circular economy business model canvas, which has got 9 components, and for each component has got a series of subcomponents, which totaling 36 subcomponents. So, and then linking layer 2, the canvas, we linked it first of all, what are the challenges related to each each category and subcategory? What are the opportunities? And then for each of the challenges and the opportunities, we theme them in terms of implementation challenges, economic challenges, social challenges, supply chain challenges, technical challenges, and the same thing for the opportunities. Then we link the whole business model into policies. You know, can we take advantage of circular economy business model to anticipate which kind of business policies it could be addressing in the future? And then we're looking at compulsory, voluntary, and even added value, depending on the type of action, circular economy business model categories and subcategories. And then we come up with a guidance, implementation guidance, which has got 7 steps, moving from layer 1, defining the objectives, up to defining circular economy actions. We're going to talk about it later in terms of how to implement them. So that's the first stage in, again, like I said, we don't have a lot of time to go into the details, but just to give you an outline of how the structure of the reference circular economy business model for the sector. From there, we try to apply them to 4 products. The RefCirc mode, this is the methodological steps by mapping all this, looking at the data for each product, and then integrating the ICT tools, and then the demonstration with the circular economy business model that was developed part of Work Package 2. And then we did a validation of the circular economy business model by visiting our demonstration partner, Envelex, Mark and Argelik, to validate the products. And then we came up with a circular economy business models that I'm going to talk about it. But before the layer 1, first we wanted to identify which products will be demonstrated. So this is why we come up with another layer called layer 0, which is the product specification. From there, we follow up every step of the RefCirc mode from layer 1, the business model, into the 7 categories of the canvas, into the challenges and opportunities, EU policies, and the circularity indicators. So the circularity indicator is for every life cycle stage. And then from there, we come up with circular economy actions, which will be demonstrated. And then for each action, what is the circular economy action plan? And then for each circular economy action, we identify what are the challenges to address them and how can these challenges be addressed through enablers. And then we came up in the end with an implementation schedule of the circular economy actions in terms of short term within the duration of the C-Survey project, medium term, and long term. This is for the organizations to take into consideration for their business models. So just going to go very briefly again, just to give you an example how it was customized for every product. So for example, this is for the printers. So we devised a very basic template to get all the information about that product, from its reference to the energy class, to different parts, to the packaging, and so forth. So from there, we started looking at moving from the current business objective layer 1 into the circular economy objectives. That's moving layer 1. Then we go into layer 2, which is the canvas. So these are the 9 categories, layer 2. And then we will have for every category, we have subcategories. And then just to give you an example, for every subcategory, we have a circular economy action that could be or potentially could be implemented. And then when we look at the layer 3, which is the challenges and enablers, that gives you a little bit more information here. So we have got the categories, the subcategory, the circular economy actions in yellow, and then what are the challenges to implement such a circular economy actions, and then what are the enablers to address them. And this gives an extract as well, which Teresa and the other colleagues will talk about. It is just what we try to do is to link every circular economy action and circular economy action plan to the ICT tool. So how can the ICT tool support such circular economy actions? And then moving to layer 4. So for every circular economy actions, we looked at different policies that they are relevant, that they are that this circular economy action either should consider or comply with. So this is just examples of different circular economy actions and different policies which are related in this case to the ALM product specifically, because policies might be generic, might be relevant to all the 4 products, or it might be specific to some of the products. Then it was important to develop a circular economy business model, but how to measure the circularity performance. So the layer 5 gives the opportunity for every circular economy action to measure its performance across 4 themes, how to measure the strategy indicators, and then throughout the life cycle of the product, through the design and production, through the use phase, and through the end of life. And then finally, we during the validation visits to with the demonstration partners, we came up with a final list of circular economy actions to be demonstrated in the C-Survey projects. And this gives you just one example about the TV Silk mode across all the life cycle stages and all the circular economy actions with some codes that Isabel will talk about them later, which are being demonstrated at the moment. Thank you very much indeed for your attention. I hope, Constantin, it wasn't too long, and I'll be more than happy to answer any question at the end of the sessions. For your information, we published a number of papers based on the circular economy business model findings, and then they are all available on the C-Survey project. I'll be more than happy to send you copies if or discuss some of the content if you let me know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. All well in time and all well done. And to keep on staying in time, I immediately hand over to Teresa Oberhauser of Circularise, and she will represent, or she is responsible for the next 3 blocks, of which she will also take the first one by herself, which is a more detailed explanation of the digital information exchange platform. And I will later on introduce the other 2 presenters for this block. Teresa, please take over.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the introduction and for the previous speakers. Indeed, in the C-Surveys project, one of the most, for me personally, but generally one of the most important items, of course, is apart from the demonstrations of the circular economy business models and the research that Mohammed has explained very well, is the IT tools that enable such circular economy business models. So basically, one part of the project was to find out what kind of IT tools, what kind of digital information exchange platforms or supply chain communication systems do we need in the project in order to emphasize the cooperation and in order to increase circular economy business models. So if we take it at a glance, I hope I'm so audible. I got some pop-up. If we take it at a glance, the objective is, first of all, to provide all information necessary for circular economy. So in most cases, closing circular loops in making sure we can reuse materials, components, and products entails the necessary information what is that product? What has to be repaired? What has to be remodeled? What has to be refurbished? And what is this material? What is this component? What in there can I use? What can I not use? How can I use it? Where can I find it? Who can answer the questions that I have with the product at hand? Secondly, it's not just about circular economy. It is about making circular economy a business model for companies. So how can IT tools enable such circular economy processes to make sure it becomes part of their normal operations and there's an inherent interest in increasing the circular economy activity? So what do we actually need? We work very closely with Loughborough University in analyzing what do industry partners actually need to drive that circular economy. And we've had 3 main items that are relevant when it comes to IT. First of all, it is relevant to make sure that we get access to data. And when we're talking about data, it's about basically knowing that a television contains some aluminum or some basically plastic cover, for example. It is about getting into the more sensitive parts of the data, the concrete data, which is very difficult because it involves recipes of material mixtures that are kind of sensitive. We have to find a way to communicate that sensitive data. Secondly, we have to make sure to have more interaction around the topic. So making sure people can find a where they can ask the questions that they have about the product at hand. How can I recycle it? How can I refurbish? Where do I find a manual? And also, what is the more that even end users can just simply find if they want to change something. Thirdly, as you know, circular economy is also all about logistics. It's not just about what are the replacements I need, what are the materials I need, what kind of secondary raw material would be useful for me, but also how can I get them? Is it monetary advantage for me to get it? Is it possible? Does it actually CO2 or other global warming potential? Yes or no? And what is actually feasible and how do I transport them? Those are the 3 basically main items that have been identified, and those are the 3 items that we in that IT work package are covering. Circularise, providing an access to material data stored across all tiers of the supply chain. So basically decentrally stored data, making sure we can communicate the data that is there while preserving the privacy and the sensitivity of the data, and making sure we are not sharing any sensitive data publicly or even storing it centrally. Thirdly, of course, secondly, we have the partner Soltel, who is providing a tool for sharing public information and for interaction, for example, through a forum to make sure that companies and stakeholders can engage about a product, ask questions, find, for example, 3D printing models for a certain replacement tool, or just simply reach out to the right manufacturer to get the information or repair information. Thirdly, of course, the logistics part is taken care about RINA-C, who has basically created a system to calculate what the best transportation routes are, what the best logistics are to transport, to gather materials and components and waste and replacement parts in order to make this really circular economy possible. You will hear from all 3 of us, from me, from Circularise's side, but we also have colleagues from Soltel and from RINA-C with us who will give you an overview of their systems and how it is intertwined. Talking about intertwined, of course, it is not just about independently developing IT tools that enable the circular economy, but it is about making sure that these communicate well with each other, which is why we have been working on software integrations to make sure there's basically added value in all of these 3 different tools for customers together if needed. So, but looking at the topic of the project again, how do these information exchange platforms actually provide value? First of all, in order to drive growth, we have to know more about what it is in our products. That is, first of all, relevant for companies and manufacturers to understand their supply chain better, to understand material better, and to see where they can optimize on the one hand side in their product in general, but most importantly, when it comes to circular economy, how to really close the loop more efficiently and in a better way to also make it a basically viable business model. Secondly, of course, it's about mitigating risks as well, knowing more about the contents of your products, being able to communicate among supply chain stakeholders about that, or even better organize the transportation of, for example, end-of-life printers, as an example, is of course way easier if we have that kind of information in order to mitigate risk, for example, around hazardous materials. Thirdly, reducing costs is a very important item for stakeholders using the platforms as well. So if we look at this, at the different technologies one by one, Circularise, as you've heard already, has created a system that brings traceability to global supply chains and empowers businesses to take steps towards circular economy. We do that by using blockchain. Blockchain in order to decentralize the communication around material data, in order to make sure there is no trace of sensitive data left anywhere on any public systems. Because if we look at the data management over time and life cycles of products, we know that centralized databases and data stored there is never fully safe. So if you want to enable the communication of suppliers and original equipment manufacturers about their products, we have to make sure there's a way where they can decide how much they share and with whom, and where at all times the data is stored decentrally on their own servers, and there is no possibility for it to be leaked anywhere to central structures. But how do we do that today? If we look at supply chain transparency today, we see that it's still a very manual process. Many companies, their entire departments really focused only on supply chain communication. And often the communication is still very manual, with certificates and Excel tables being emailed back and forth between the OEM and the suppliers in order to find out what is actually in the product, what kind of hazardous materials are in there, what kind of materials in general are in there, what can be reused, recycled, what can be refurbished as well. So it's, first of all, it's very manual. Secondly, the whole responsibility of that process lies on the OEM as the person that is responsible in gathering all of that data, which of course also means it's not very updatable if it's basically shared in such a process, and it's very labor intensive. That is why we need to, first of all, digitize that process, and secondly, decentralize that process. Make sure that everyone is actually responsible of the data that they are handling. So that is what Circularise has done. We have created a digital twin system, called a system where we communicate material data along the whole supply chain, and builds basically a communication channel of in a supply chain where everyone communicates material data and production data only about their step of supply chains. So we don't have the problem anymore. The OEM has to get back to the suppliers earlier and find out what is in there, what was used, but it's actually every single stakeholder along the supply chain who has to only communicate about their part of data from their specific supply chain step, and can also then, through a question-answer mechanism, be asked directly about this kind of information. What results is basically a communication web with decentrally stored information buckets along the whole supply chain, which can be accessible at any time to find out more about the product. What does that mean for the end user? What does that mean for the original equipment manufacturer? It means that we can have, for example, a QR code, but it can also be invisible. We can have basically an overview page where we see what is the product at hand, what are the earlier components in the product, what kind of materials are in there, and what kind of certified recycled material content is, for example, in the product. Of course, here again, it is up to each stakeholder in the supply chain to fine-tune how much information they share publicly, how much they share with other supply chain stakeholders, and how much they only share basically on a basically when specifically asked for that information by someone bilaterally on the system. So secondly, of course, apart from this QR code on the product that can be used to find out more about material, it can of course also be used for companies to communicate the sustainability properties of their product to their end users. Here, for example, actually a real business example from Circularise, a project with Porsche that we have, where with our system, Porsche was able to prove to their customers that a certain percentage of their material, of their rare light, was recycled material content through a system with tokenized material on blockchain, where it's actually possible to prove that the amount of material created, recycled material content created, is actually in that final product. That actually allows companies to, first of all, market themselves as more sustainable, and secondly, to actually prove to further supply chain stakeholders or to their partners and customers that they're actually doing more sustainable practices internally at that moment. So apart from the overall underlying system that Circularise has created, Circularise also has a patent pending on functionality called smart questioning. What is smart questioning? Looking back at what I have indicated earlier around the data that is decentrally stored along the supply chain, you remember that it is possible to share it publicly, share it with only supply chain stakeholders, or share it only on demand. What we can make possible with this patented technology is we make it possible to ask questions to the supply chain where customers can, or other stakeholders can find out information about materials in their product without actually having to share the full proof of that material in the background. Usually when we ask someone for a material component, it is not enough for us to just hear, yes, that material is in there, or no, or this percentage is in there, because we would like to see proof. We really need to know how much actually is. In real life, what we would do is we would simply show the whole bill of material in order to prove that the answer we have given, yes or no, or this percentage of material, is correct. However, that is of course not possible due to the sensitivity of the bill of material. That's why with this technology, it's actually possible to prove that your answer that you've given on the question is correct based on data that is communicated over the blockchain without actually ever revealing or centrally storing any of that material data. That makes it actually possible for companies to be able to rely on answers they get about data questions without actually having to share all of the material. That is specifically relevant if we're talking about sensitive data that has to be communicated and data where we have to be absolutely sure that the data is correct. So the whole system builds on technology. We build on public blockchain technology. The most important is fully decentralized and is therefore fully secure. It is for privacy and confidentiality preserving, and supports an open infrastructure where we're working with other companies on building an open protocol beyond this project. And that is also, of course, facilitated further through the smart questioning technology, employing a zero-knowledge proof. But to get back into the details, we are talking about circular economy, but also business models. So does that actually work? Can those project results actually be exploited? It can. Of course, the most important items in the project generally is the white goods and electronics that we've been working on the project, but we have already been able to expand that further across different industry types. We have been able to work on different parts of the software, including the overall material information system, the smart questioning sensitivity part, also the customer-facing part. And we've been working basically with a lot of companies in that system ever since, with right now the latest being an ICC project as a basically follow-up of the technology. Now, just at the end, let me give you some more visuals. Visuals of the platform of Circularise at a glance of June 2021. Why June 2021? June 2021, because that is actually when we finalized the development of the technology in the project. And I'm very happy to say that since then, we've actually managed to, first of all, gain an EIC accelerator, a scaling grant from the EU, with which we have been developing the technology further over the last year. And of course, secondly, further private business following up on this great success with the CSAVIS project, like the ICC project ongoing right now. So yeah, to give you a bit of an overview, here are some screenshots from the system, the dashboard where you see the material tokens that people create to then transfer those material tokens further along the supply chain to communicate data. Secondly, the possibility to communicate certification on recycled material content with the exact quantities, so customers really have the proof that there's, for example, 5 or 10% of recycled material in their product at hand. And the possibility to basically specify further what kind of processes are ongoing, with the smart questioning as the most important part. If you want to know more, and of course, if you want to know more about the later developments, feel free to always get in contact with me at any time, and very happy to hand over to our colleagues who have developed the other two IT platforms that the Circularise system is interlinked with, and who are expanding on the great work in the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. That was absolutely in time and overwhelmingly much. And it's always good to have also tangible and concrete results presented. And I guess with our next speaker who jumps into exactly that topic and goes on with the presentation about the platform foster about the public information exchange from Juan Carols Liebana from Soltel. Please, Juan Carols, take over. And please, you are still muted, and we see the presentation perfectly. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, now, thank you, Constantin. Good morning, everybody. Well, this is I'm Juan Carols Liebana, as Constantin said. I'm IT software analyst in Soltel's group, and I'm going to be talking about this information exchange platform and how this platform will foster public information exchange. And the first thing I want to talk about is about the human factor importance. And this is because we are talking about technology. Teresa just showed us this Circularise project, a very interesting project about the blockchain, a lot of technology and algorithms involved in all these processes, helping the circular economy process. And also later, Sara will talk about the logistic platform and how all the algorithms can calculate the best path and the best route. There's a lot of importance in the technology and how the technology can help us to achieve this circular economy processes. But we should remember that behind all this technology, there will always be people and companies. And these companies, these stakeholders, will always be interested in approaching each other to be part of something greater and to be able to build something together and be involved in circular economy processes. So we think that in addition to developing these kind of tools like Circularise or the logistic platform that help us to facilitate circular economy processes, we also must address the most basic needs of users, and this is discover different partners, discover new stakeholders, new actors to be working with, connect with them, and of course exchange information to be able to be working together. Okay, and this is the information exchange platform about this. All this system is an ICT tool, of course, to connect the actors of the electronic equipment products life cycle to share useful information to help promote the reuse, repair, and the efficient recovery of III products and materials. Okay, so it's like a very simple and straightforward application. It's a platform, I repeat myself, where to discover new actors to be working with, connect with them, to know who is involved in these processes, in these circular economy processes, and share information and exchange information with them. So how this platform, how this information exchange platform could help to achieve this goal, it's about these 4 blocks I'm sharing now in the screen. There are the manufacturer list, or better called the partners list, just a place where to discover and find different actors, different stakeholders that want to be working in the circular economy processes. Also a documents repository, a place where to upload all the documentation, all the guides that the companies already have developed in the past to share with the partners. Naturally, no sensitive information, just some public processes. Also, we have this recipes repository. We are not using this recipes name. We call it now quick guides or step-by-step guide. We will see in a minute. Also to share with the partners and the stakeholders all the information, all this recycling dismantling processes. And finally, a forum where we can create new communication channels. We can establish new protocols, new communications, and make the contact much easier for the partners. Okay, so I'm going to be showing one by one very fast in the application with these screenshots. So the first one is this manufacturers list or the partners list. This list will show all registered users with whom we could become a partner, and this is matched with the part of Discover. And we think it's very interesting to have a place, to have this platform where we can join, we can register if we are a new partner, a new stakeholder in these circular economy processes, and we will want to discover who is involved in this process, with whom we can be working to achieve our goals. This screen is much a lot of that to discover the producers, manufacturers, suppliers, or even regular users. We don't need to be a company or an entity to register to the platform. We can be just a regular user interested in circular economy. And we can check who is involved in this world, in this mindset, these circular economy processes. We can check the contact information, technical contact, administrative contact. We can send an association request to be working with all of them. So this part of the application is a lot of discover who is working with this circular economy process. Then we have the documents repository. This is just a list of documents that will show all the documentation and guides published by the different partners. As you can see, again, it's just a list where we can find all the documents, all the quick guides that the different partners are uploading to the platform. There, again, I repeat, it's not non-sensitive information. We are not trying to hold in the system sensitive information, just public users manuals, users guide, documentation, some PDF, maybe some docs, just to the partners to share with the companies that they are working with. We have functionality that also allows to the user to make some content private, so not everybody can see that documentation, just the association partners, the associated partners. Okay, so for example, we can see here some documentation from Lexmark, like for example this CX725 series user's guide about safety information, application features, printing, etc. Okay, so we can find here these PDF documents, as I said, but also we can find here some quick guides. And this is about this recite repository. As I said, we are not using that name anymore. There are no recite. We are calling like quick guides or step-by-step guides. And these quick guides will allow you to publish step-by-step guides on different processes. For example, let's say that we want to publish a new process about dismantling a washing machine belt that we have not registered before in any other documentation. We don't have this this process registered in any other documentation. So we can be using this platform. We can be using the information exchange platform to create this step-by-step quick guide. Okay, so we can specify a short description and introduction, each one of the steps. Revolve gears are removed, revolves removed, and finally the poly belt is removed. And then expect the results. Okay, so the interesting part with the quick guides is not just this, that we can be creating these step-by-step guides, but that also we have we can add different comments to this quick guide. Okay, I'm not showing in the screenshot because it was like a huge screen, but we can be creating some comments. Any user actually, if this quick guide is public, can be making some comments to the user guide. So it allows to create a new channel communication, to create a dialogue, to create a discussion about the washing machine belt replacement that will remain to the future. So if in the future we have a new partner, all the information will remain in the platform. So you don't need to resend an email. You don't need to be explaining again the same issues that you were explaining to other partners. And also we have a component, a block, better said, a block inside this quick guide screen that, again, I'm not showing. I will show in a minute, but not now, about components or products. So we can add to this step-by-step guide, we can be adding different components or different products just to let the user know that that component will be required in the process. For example, if we stick with this example of the washing machine belt replace, we can add to this components block this belt component. Okay, I'll show you in a minute, but just to let you know that this is a very potential screen, this part of the platform. So the last part is the forum. That's actually very straightforward, but very simple part of the application, but with a huge potential. And of course, I'm repeating the same once and again, but it's very important to make clear that this application is about discover, connect, and exchange information. And this forum zone, or this forum part of the application, is a lot about communication, about creating new communication channels, making suggestions, making questions, starting new dialogues, new discussions about anything. The different partners can use this this forum to publish any new component, any new guide, any new document, any new information, whatever they need to make public to their partners. So we can create new topics, we can add in comments naturally to the topics, mark some answers as solution, vote for the best solutions. A classic and typical forum, but we really think that it promote a lot the communication, and it will help a lot and facilitate the communication between the different partners. Okay, so these 4 blocks are the main core of the platform. As you can see, it's relative simple platform, but we are so focused on discovering new partners, connect the different partners between them to know who is involved in these processes and how can I work with these companies or these stakeholders, and share information, make information public or private, but share information and have a single place where to store all this documentation. Okay, so now at the end, I'm going to talk about the ICT's integration, and this is also a very important part of the platform, because we can be using all the C-Service ICT tools in an integrated manner. So through the different functionalities the information exchange platform has, we can be using Circularise, the information exchange platform, and the logistic platform in an integrated way. So these screens we are seeing now is about the products I was talking a minute about. When we are creating a step-by-step guide or a quick guide, as I said, we can add different products, different components to this quick guide. I was talking about the washing machine belt example. So we can suppose, again, that I'm creating this quick guide and that I want to add this component to the quick guide, because I want my users to know that they need to use this component, this washing machine belt. So I can create that product inside the information exchange platform. This is the screen to create a product or a component inside the information exchange platform. And we have 2 options. We can do it manually. I can type here the name, washing machine belt, warehouse from Seville, the weight, the volume, whatever. But I have a second option, and is to bring, to take the hash code for that component in Circularise, in case it exists, of course. If the component exists in Circularise, I can get this this hash code and use it in my platform, in the information exchange platform, and all the information will be brought from Circularise. So I have integrated all the information from Circularise into my platform. Okay, and once I have this component added to my quick guide, I can be, as a user, if I'm reviewing this quick guide, I'm interested in this washing machine belt replacement, I'm reading this step-by-step guide, and I'm watching and seeing that I need this component. I need this washing machine belt because the creator added to the quick guide. So I can select this this component. I can select this washing machine belt to my query delivery component list. I can add this component, and if I hit accept, I will jump to the logistic platform. Okay, I'm not showing that screenshot. That's something that Sara probably will explain in a minute. But I will jump to the logistic platform with all the information attached to this component. So if I brought this component, this washing machine belt from Circularise, I'm getting all that information from Circularise, and I'm sending all that information also to the logistic platform. So in this way, all the three ICT tools can be working together to facilitate and to make things much easier for the user. But it's not something, it's not mandatory. We can use the three platforms in a standalone way. Okay, but this possibility exists. Okay, so that's all. I know I've been talking very fast. If anybody has any doubt, of course, I'll be so glad to answer. This is my contact, my mail. Please feel free to mail me any questions. And yeah, that's pretty much all. Thank you very much for your attention.
And thank you, Juan Carlos. That was pretty insightful. 15 dense minutes on top. And let me hand over, as you already did, to Sara Fozza from RINA, who is the third presenter today on the topic of the exchange platform. And as said, it goes more about the logistics in detail. So, Sara, 15 minutes. And maybe one additional to the audience. We have received already questions in the chat, and just to remind you, we will address them in the Q&A session towards the end. So, sorry, Sara, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Constantin, for your introduction. Can you see my screen?
Yes, but it's not in the presenting mode.
Yes, I'm trying to. Okay, this should be in. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, so the development of the ICT tools represent the driver for the deployment of the new eco-innovative services developed in the scope of the service project. The logistic platform developed by RINA Consulting is one of these ICT tools and enable closing the loop of a product value chain in a sustainable and cost-effective manner. The tool indeed allows to evaluate the environmental and the economic impact in terms of calculation of CO2 emissions and other main pollutant emissions, route length, and time needed for the shipment and the related cost. The logistic platform is available at the link reported in this slide, and only registered users can access this tool. All the data provided by users are managed by the platform in compliance with GDPR. The three main actors involved in the C-Service demo are the collection point, which are the location where end-of-life products are collected, recycling site, which are sorting centers where products are disassembled and valuable materials are recovered, and finally the manufacturer, where final products are produced also using recovered materials or component. The main goal of a logistic platform is to ensure a sustainable transportation of the waste from the collection point to the recycling sites and finally to the manufacturer, in order to enable the use of these recovered materials, in order to reinsert them in the supply chain. The analysis is based on the road network connection, and the tool aims at optimizing the potential multi-stop pathway covered by the trucks to connect all the stakeholders involved in the supply chain. In general, if we look at the supply chain and their stakeholders, we can say that every industrial company is necessary part of at least one supply chain. Companies are involved in the procurement processes as buyer or as suppliers, but in both cases they are interested in improving their transport logistic for two main reasons. The first one is to reduce company carbon footprint, improve company sustainability assessment, and therefore improve their company image on the market. And the second one is to reduce the company logistic cost related to the transport. Looking at the reverse logistic and the reuse of components or materials from end-of-life products, we can say that a new element can be added to the traditional process. And in this case, we can design a new supply chain which is more sustainable than traditional one. The product recovery and the use of elements or components from end-of-life goods is an emerging business area, which shall be attractive from two points of view. The first one is economic, of course, but the second one is environmental. The reverse logistics and the related transport cost and the production of GHG emission from the trucks used for the shipment are the key points to make this process competitive compared with the new one, with a traditional one which involves only primary materials. The logistic platforms allow to identify new scenarios and allow to evaluate these scenarios, which include new nodes of a logistic chain where recovered material can be included in the chain with and compare this scenario with the traditional one. This slide shows the logistic platform data flow from the inputs to the results. The tool is totally tailored on the information and data made available in the project, which are the availability of some products or materials, their quantity, their location, and possible constraints for the shipment. Finally, another input is about the type of vehicles used for this shipment. The core of the tool is the best routing algorithm, which can support the user to identify the most sustainable route and a good combination of track. The algorithm aims at reduce the environmental impact of the transport, and it works combining two main factors. The first one is about the optimization of the route planning by defining a best sequence of nodes and by identify the shortest path between two nodes of a chain. The second one is about the identification of an appropriate number of trucks, according, of course, to loading constraints, but also aiming at reducing the total driving distance covered by trucks to connect all the stakeholders of a chain. When the tool identifies the routes, a second step is done, and it is about the evaluation of environmental impact. This calculation is made with the support of a methodology defined in the tool, which is very similar to the Coppert methodology, because in this case we use the same inputs. We use, in fact, the database for the emission factors and the classification of the vehicles fleet also applied in the Coppert estimation model. We also consider Euro standard classification of trucks. We consider trucks from Euro 4 to Euro 6, and the evaluation of emission, which are CO2, NOx, and particulate matters, are estimated using mixed driving cycles, which includes both highway but also urban sections. The main input of a logistic platform are stored within the platform in 3 main forms. The first one is about the supplier, which is the company who can provide the product, and information are about the warehouse's location. The second one is about the product. Information about identification code, their dimension, weight, the location where the product is available, possible constraints for shipment, and the data for the availability of this product are reported in this form. It is important to say that every product needs to be linked to a supplier and of course to one of its warehouse. All the data are filled in the tool, but can be also get from the information exchange platform if we consider the full stream of the free ICT tools. The final form is about destination, and it is about it includes information about the final site for the production. How I can make an analysis? First of all, the first step is to build a supply chain. How can I create this supply chain? I have to select a list of nodes where products are available, of course, without a predefined order. In case the use is used as a standalone platform, the user can select this list of nodes from the logistic platform. In case the shopping list is already defined within the information exchange platform, this part, the lower side of the screen, is already filled in when the user accesses the logistic platform. Other information are, of course, the selection of type of vehicle and the class, and the final destination for the goods. The algorithm proposes a list of possible routes based on different orders of the nodes and a different combination of trucks involved in the shipment. In this picture, we can say a selection of these results, and per each route we can get information about the amount of CO2 emission and main pollutant emission produced by the trucks, the total transport distance, the total transport time, and the number of trucks used for the shipment. And finally, the availability, the data for the availability of the products. It is also possible to go into detail per each route and get information and details according to each section of the route. It is also possible to see a map showing the path to connect one node to the next. And it is also possible to save these results in a user page in order to be used also in a second moment. We tested the logistic platform in the scope of the project, of course, and the tool has been then used within the Lexmark demo on printers and within Arcelic demos on TV and washing machine. In all these demos, no baseline was available, since both companies are not still implementing the reverse logistic for these products. The industrial partners were interested in simulating this scenario in order to identify possible logistic chain and in order to evaluate the environmental impact. In this slide, I put some information from Lexmark demo. We can see a list of companies, 4 companies, 1 in UK, 1 in France, and 2 in Germany, and a final destination, the red point in Poland, which is the production site. The analysis provided a list of about 15 options, considering different company orders and number of trucks. I reported in this slide the 2 best solutions, which are quite similar in result. which is the green one and the yellow one. They both consider the use of only one track and provide a multi-stop path to connect all the points from UK to France, Germany, and finally to the final destination. I also put information about the worst case, which is this one. In this case, the tool divides the logistic chain in 3 different sections, and therefore consider the use of 3 different tracks with an increase of kilometers and of course environmental impact. In terms of kilometers and CO2 emissions saved, we can register a saving of about 40% in the first 2 cases compared with the worst case. Different solution has been instead provided for the Arcelic demo, because due to the position, to the location of the warehouses, some located north and some located south of the production site, it was more convenient to divide the route in 2 different sections and therefore use 2 different tracks in order to reduce the kilometers and therefore the emissions. Also in this case, the demo registered some savings, about 30–40% for the best solution compared with the worst case. We are at the moment doing other analysis and tests, also using recycling sites within the demo, and the results will be shown quite soon. As I presented, the logistic platform is totally tailored on the C-Service project information and data. And we can say that the main core of the platform is the developed algorithm for the best routing, which can be also applied as main element of a standalone platform, able to support industrial companies in planning and also optimizing their transport routes for both collecting materials but also to distribute their products. In this case, some specific developments or customization could be, of course, needed to adapt the input forms to the requirements of the customer. But the core algorithm could be integrated in the new tool in order to achieve the company's targets and in order to increase sustainable logistic concept based on transport planning. This is all. I thank you for your attention. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer you.
Thank you very much, Sara. And that is exactly, again, my repetitive announcement. If you have a question, put it into the chat. And that was the 3 parts about the exchange platform, about the information exchange platform. And we will have a final presentation from Isabel Diaz from GAIKER about the implementation of the business models into demonstrators or into demonstration. Anna, the next 5 to 10 minutes, and then we have still room 10–15 minutes for the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Constantin. Let me show you the presentation. Okay, hopefully you can see it now.
Not yet in presentation mode, but we can see it.
Should be coming, yeah. Right.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much again, and good morning, everybody. So to finish this webinar, I would like to just give you a very brief overview of the demonstration we have been carrying out in the C-Service project, and in particular of how we transition from this, let's say, more theoretical business models that we developed and into the more practical activities. So basically what we wanted to do was to test, to validate our newly developed circular economy business models, and our ICT functionalities and platform, using 4 different products belonging to different electrical and electronic categories. So as you already have seen throughout this webinar, we have 4 products. We have the washing machines representing large household appliances, TVs representing consumer equipment, printers under toner cartridges representing the IT equipment, and the ALM system, which represents telecom equipment. Just in case you were wondering, the ALM is the Advanced Link Monitoring. It's a device used to monitor optical fiber networks. So these are our 4 large demonstrations. And then basically what we wanted to do is to test, to use these demonstrations as the testing ground for our newly developed product-specific circular economy business models that Professor Osmani explained before, and our ICT tools or ICT platform, which you have just seen explained in detail. And we wanted to look at the whole life cycle of our product. So starting from the design and production phase, into the use phase, and looking also at the end of life phase, that we could enable circularity in all life cycle stages. So if you remember the last slide, or the final slide in Professor Osmani's presentation, we had once the business models were validated, we had a set of CE actions, circular economy actions, that were the selected ones to be implemented in the demonstrations, considering smart targets, but basically also looking at the time frame, because they had to be able to be implemented in the demonstration period, let's say. So as we want to look at the whole life cycle, here you can see all the CE actions selected for the washing machine demonstration, classified into the design phase, use phase, and end of life phase. And I have signaled or put a small mark besides the one that were more involved or more supported by our ICT tools. So, for example, in the first CE actions implemented in the washing machine phase, for the design phase, was to increase recycled plastic content in washing machines components. And for this, it was supported by the Circularise platform that enabled us to certify by ICT this new recycled content introduced, and so on. I will not go into detail because it would be too long, but just to say that this was done. This is the TV set demonstration with all the actions implemented. And this is the printer one. So you can see that, for example, here we are, for the last action in the end of life phase, to investigate economics of more CE suitable materials. We were supported by the logistic platform, just explained by Sara, and so on. And this is the ALM. In the ALM demonstration, we made less use of the ICT tools, basically because of the characteristic of this product, which has a very long lifetime, and is not too suited for example, for a use, remanufacture, and repair, etc. And just to finish, just as I said, very quick overview, I just wanted to mention or to show you the demonstration goals for the 4 demonstrators, considering the different life cycle stages. So, for example, for the TV and the washing machines, we were very similar in the goals. For the design phase, we wanted to implement eco-design, especially related to increasing the recycled content in these products. In the use phase, we mainly wanted to explore eco-leasing opportunities, how to transition from a classical, let's say, sales models into the PSS, and also to collect customers' feedback related to this PSS. And in the end of life phase, we are looking to improve mostly repair and refurbishment operation, and how to prolong the lifetime of the products. For the printer and toner cartridges demonstration, in the design phase, we looked at to explore also eco-design potential for the printers, especially from the point of view of the dismantling and disassembly, working with the recyclers. And in the use phase, we look to improve logistics, the take back, also related to the refurbishment business, and to collect customers' feedback. And in the end-of-life phase, which was the main focus, to promote the refurbishment operations for the printers and to increase also material circularity in components. And in the ALM demonstration, in the design phase, we look to focus on implementing eco-design, in this case, design for energy efficiency and design for recycling in the ALM product. In the use phase, they explored mainly different product service systems for the ALM products, and which would be the best one to implement for this system. And in the end-of-life phase, we are doing a very extensive lifetime optimization study for the ALM extensible to all the other C-service products, and also to in generic ICT products. And this is an LCA-based tool. And for all of these goals and activities, of course, they involve the joint activities of the partners in the demonstrations. We are using as enablers our ICT tools, ICT platform, in particular, the certification by ICT, the logistic platform, the smart questioning, and the information and communication platform across the supply chain. And now we are currently finishing the end-of-life phase activities, and hopefully in the next months we will be able to provide a full overview of all the outcomes and results from the project demonstrations. And this is all from my side. I didn't want to extend any longer, so thank you very much for your attention. And this is all.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, for that. Yeah, I don't want to say closing remarks, but for bringing it all together from the development to reality. And we have up to the full hours, the time now for the questions. And I propose that we simply go through the list as they came up during, since it seems we can cover all of them within the 10 minutes. During Teresa's presentation, William Neal asked, are you assuming, promoting that systems and standards will all be open and non-proprietary? Not sure, maybe Vincente or whoever wants to speak up and answer on that.
Yes, sorry, I have a bit of a change of scenery as I'm in transportation. Yeah, very happy to answer that question. I think both is relevant, right? What we do at Circularise is we are working together with other partners to create an open standard for supply chain communication. So basically, just like we have it with email, where basically Circularise would be the Gmail or the Outlook. But the underlying system, basically how we communicate data, is the communication protocol, like the IMAP protocol that you have with email. And it's important that, of course, all systems basically are able to use the same kind of communication protocol so that we don't end up like a situation with, I don't know, social media communication, for example, where you cannot send a message from Telegram to WhatsApp and vice versa, but where we have basically interoperability there. Circularise itself is a software as a service system. So it is not open source, but there are developments in both directions, and I think both have their value.
Thank you. Something more to add from someone else? Otherwise, I would jump to the next. Okay. Then Robert Alexander asked, who is the owner responsible for all the data in Circularise, and how are they going to be free of a dominant position, free of any conflict? Maybe again, Teresa.
Yeah, that is an excellent question. It is a decentralized system. Our blockchain is also called the trustless system. So how that basically works is that everyone is responsible for their own data that they upload, which basically means that each supplier is responsible for literally the material data of their material and their component that they're adding to the product. And blockchain technology basically makes it impossible to lie about data, because the data is stored indefinitely, which means if a company actually lies, it is stored for longer. And of course, there's also cooperation with auditors to make sure that if the original equipment manufacturer wants that the data is actually audited before it is stored on the blockchain. Either of the two is possible. But generally speaking, decentralization means everyone's own ownership and no centralization, which also means Circularise itself even does not have access to this data at all. It's fully decentral.
I always give a little bit of time if someone else wants to jump in. Otherwise, we go to the next. Okay. Which came from Jan Philip Kopka, and he asks, what is the physical twin related to the digital twin? Is it the individual product or a product model? You are smiling here. Perfectly. Teresa, again.
Yeah, that is an excellent question. Actually, I never thought of it that way. Of course, I mean the digital twin is the digital twin of the physical product. But of course, among the products, there are different types of models, specifically in electronics and so on. So then it is really the specific model.
So it's the product model that exists. Again, a little bit of time if someone wants to add. Otherwise, I think you partly already covered it. The next question, Teresa. But let's see, maybe you add something. Regarding Circularise, I would also like to ask how it will be funded and audited. The audit part you already brought up. Regarding Circularise, who mentioned people can find out what is sustainable? May I ask what methods and metrics will be used to prove its sustainability or sustainable? So funded and audited, as well as the indicators or metrics.
Yes, perfect. I'll try to remember all questions. Excellent questions again. First of all, we are a software as a service platform, which means companies pay for using Circularise. So that's the private funding part. Of course, I mean, in the setup, we are part of this amazing research project where CCVs has really, helped our company to grow an amazing platform from basically almost like just a very small start. And we have another, the EIC Accelerator project, which is a scaling grant from the EU. So that's from the public side, but it is software as a service. In that sense, companies are paying for it right now already, actually. And the second part about auditing, everyone is responsible of their own data. That also means, for example, if we have a supply chain project with a certain, I don't know, automotive brand, for example, then it is the automotive brand with the suppliers deciding on what kind of auditors they trust. The data is audited before, and it's also possible to add auditors on the system so that basically auditors can even on the system basically click as in this data is approved. And that's possible as well. We ourselves do not audit the software, the data. What we do, of course, is check our own security, do our own security audits for our software, where we already conducted one last June, for example, and we have another one coming up this June, a bigger one, except for the regular due diligence, of course. And the third question I forgot.
That was about how can people find out what is sustainable? May I ask what methods and metrics will be used to prove its sustainability or that it is sustainable?
Yes, that's excellent. I mean, what we're working on right now actually is adding more life cycle inventory data around, for example, global warming potential, water, and so on. We already had some first basically experiences with that, but we are extending that right now, among others, in new projects, but also beyond. And secondly, when it comes to the sustainability, the things I mentioned in the presentation were around the certification of recycled material content. How that happens is basically that we work together with recognized recycled material basically certifiers, like for example EU Surplus or GRS in the textile world, and basically enable them or the companies through certificates to digitize those sustainability claims, which basically means that there's a certain amount of material allocated to that certificate at the start of the supply chain, and through the system it's tracked until the end, which means the end user with their t-shirt or with their shampoo bottle gets a certain amount of tokens that basically justify the amount of recycled material in the
So you mentioned regarding methods and metrics, partly water and other indicators. So it's LCA based, isn't it?
Yes.
Someone who wants to add something on that? A broad field? Otherwise, I will jump.
I would say this is Vincente, and I will say that the sustainability, of course, it should be linked with the environmental point of view, but also as we are just conducting at the end the whole life cycle assessment, both on the economic but also economics and also social impacts. And then we can just assess that it is sustainable because it should fit with the three main pillars of the sustainability. These three ones. So apart from the environmental issues that it will become within the ICT tools or within the project itself, we need also to take into account the economics and also the social impacts that we are just providing. So this is how we can just, let's say, closing again the loop on sustainability, just not only on environmental, but also economics and social point of view. It's just a broad answer, I mean.
Perfect. Yeah, but sustainability is more than just environmental indicators. Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Wonderful. Then there are two questions left. One came up during Juan Carlos' presentation regarding Soltel and generally. So I guess also, Teresa, you partly answered it. I have the feeling. How will anyone measure that a competent person has repaired a product when it comes to white goods and ICT equipment? When sharing how to fix things, there will be certain liabilities and consumers will need to know it's safe and still has the same components when first placed on the market.
Okay, so about the Soltel's point of view, Soltel's part, the platform actually is not taking any responsibility on the documentation that it's upload, neither about the certified users repayment or something. So in this point of view, from this side is like the same if this documentation will be shared by any other different method. I don't know, by mailing or maybe with Google Drive or whatever. So the platform actually is not taking any responsibility on this. So hopefully the partners will have their own methods, their own contracts. They will be take care of that kind of issues.
Something to add from someone? Otherwise, there's a final question before I will wrap up and give some announcement, also what is written in the chat from Bernd and Mohammed. Okay, so that the final question was during Anna's presentation. How can projects, and again from Alexander Robert, from Robert Alexander, from EEE Safe, how can projects who use 3D printing ensure that any of the parts printed comply with the safety standards applied when products were first placed on the market?
Yes, well, I'm not an expert on 3D printing, but what I can say that we have done some 3D printing tests for several parts of components in the washing machine demo, in the TV demo, and also in the printer demo. And of course, the parts for the components 3D printed have to go through all the validation tests that they would do if they were new parts. So obviously, they have to comply with everything. So that would be my short answer.
Sure. Someone who has or wants to add?
It's the same like mine.
Yeah, just
It's a good. Sorry, please, Teresa, go ahead.
no, please.
So I was just saying, confirming what Annabelle is saying. Of course, just putting this in the market and having this CE certification or whatever certification you need to put or to place this in the market, they should be tested against the products or the tests that the company is using normally and the standardized for doing so. So of course, if we are just testing this, what we are doing and also AIMPLAS, GAIKER and Annabelle said, that once we produce this product, it should be tested against what is the normal or the common testing and quality tests that they have. So also if it is passing or not is depending on the quality test that they have from the company. So it is just validating within the same product, entering as if it was new one.
Yeah, and just to add from our side, I mean, it of course depends on the original equipment manufacturer, but of course it's also possible to only recognize a certain amount of repairs or a certain amount of 3D printers who are then also logging the 3D printing or the repairing on the system, and therefore basically become contact points and responsible for the work they did. And I mean, that's a lot of the things we see here specifically around responsibility for their own data is something that we also see very much reflected right now in the EU legislation around, for example, the digital product passport and so on, which is directly pointing in this direction.
Wonderful. I see there would be more discussion possible, and Robert Alexander also opened up in the chat a link to his project and to his platform, and maybe there is more exchange possible. I give it in your hands after the webinar. We are already 2 minutes behind the hour. And let me also announce what Bernd said, that on September 14th, there will be a special webinar on the demonstrators, which is, in my opinion, a follow-up from Anna's presentation. Mohammed also, again, highlighted, as in the invitation to this webinar, it was already referenced, that there are videos and publications from the Circularise project available, and they can be found in the chat as well. I will not read the HTTP link. Mohammed, something to add? Because you switched in? You want like something to add?
Not really. I know that we are. I think there is a question there about the last question about reuse. I know that we are running out of time. It's just the question from Robert Alexander was it. Repair. The focus will be on repairing the waste prevention intervention. I think it could be a big discussion there, because I think if you repair, you're going to talk about something to do with design for behavior change for customers, and aspect of emotional durability, because customers get attached to products. And if there is a new mobile set or new laptop or something, they prefer to get a new one. I think it's all about, I think definitely prevention will be the focus, but you need some determinant there and incentives and awareness as well for customer use as well. The circular economy is not about stakeholders in terms of designers, manufacturers, and so forth, but I think it's to engage positively customers to be part of the whole picture.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sorry,
it's
just adding a question, because I typing whatever it is, something in the question, because answering to that question that Mo is just rising because of Robert Alexander, of course, is that it is not a straightforward, and it depends, because if we are discussing with sustainability, it's not something like less CO2 emissions. It has more broader approach. So the broader approach is not only on the CO2 emissions or savings. We need to focus on the rest of the impacts that we're having, and also we need to focus on the rest of the economic impacts that we have and the social, because it's not the same to repair it, I mean, locally, or to repair it far away, or whatever it is, and depending which country and depending on the conditions. So it is not really a straightforward question to say this is the best option to the other one. So that's why we need to offer, and also the service is just opening or offering, let's say, a catalog or a broad different approaches to be implemented within different products, that they are different impact, different consequences, different sustainability issues. So it is something like product per product and solution per solution to be done. So then we can just say, yes, it is or it's not, because it's not straightforward. So thank you. Sorry, adding this.
Sure, Vicente. I think it's a important point, and it's a logic point. Maybe you really can stick heads together and establish any interaction after the webinar. With the words and answers you gave, it's logic. If it was easy and straightforward, how could be there a reason for such a research project? And with these words, I thank all the attendees, and specifically all the presenters, and the vital interaction afterwards. And I hope that stays on. And 14th of September, there is the next to be demonstrated. Thank you for your time. and enjoy your day.
Thank you, Constantin, for sharing, organizing. Thank you all. Bye.
It was a
Bye
pleasure.
bye. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.